Good morning. We're covering the election results from Ohio, a Trump memo, and peacocks. This is August 9th, 2023, the New York Times newsletter. A winning streak, once again. Abortion access has won victory at the polls. Yes, last night's victory was merely a procedural one. Voters in Ohio soundly rejected a Republican-backed attempt to raise the threshold for changing the state's constitution to 60% in a ballot initiative. A follow-up election will take place in November, in which Ohio voters will decide whether to establish a right to abortion in the state's constitution. A simple majority will decide the outcome. The right to murder your child. Such an interesting debate. But last night's result was still significant. Ohio is an increasingly conservative state, which Donald Trump won by 8 percentage points in 2020, and where state legislators voted to ban almost all abortions, a policy that a judge has blocked for now. And yet voters rejected a ballot proposal that everybody understood was meant to help restrict abortion. It wasn't close either. The proposal failed 43% to 57%, according to the latest count. Ohio became the fourth red state, along with Kansas, Kentucky, and Montana, to have voted on abortion rights side of a referendum since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last summer. A slow start. Ohio is one of 10 states that both significantly restricts abortion, or soon might, and allows citizen-sponsored ballot initiatives. The others are Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, and South Dakota. All of these states, except for Arizona, voted Republican in the 2020 presidential election, a sign that many of their voters favor significant abortion restrictions. Consider these results from a recent Times Siena College nationwide poll. I'm not going to read all those. You can see them. Still, a ballot initiative establishing abortion access would have had a chance to pass in any of those 10 states. That's one of the lessons of the Ohio result. Abortion rights measures tend to receive overwhelming support from Democratic voters and some support from Republicans. Yet, there is an important caveat to abortion's political potency. The issue does not appear to swing most general elections. In statewide elections in Florida, Ohio, Texas, and elsewhere last year, Democrats tried to defeat Republicans by emphasizing their hostility to abortion. But most Republicans, Mike DeWine and J.D. Vance in Ohio, Ron DeSantis and Marco Rubio in Florida, Greg Abbott in Texas, won easily. At best, the Supreme Court decision helps Democrats in a limited number of very close midterm elections. How could this be? Most voters care about many issues, and on several other high-profile issues today, like public safety and border security, the Democratic Party is arguably out of step with public opinion as the Republican Party is on abortion. Really? Arguably out of step? No. They are out of step, and only the most extreme of the left supports wild open borders, crime everywhere, letting criminals run in the streets without being prosecuted. That's just the left. This is a theme of Roy Texia's recent writings for the Liberal Patriot newsletter on Substack. At least for now, ballot initiatives, as opposed to ousting otherwise popular Republican politicians, appears to be one of the few ways for advocates to expand abortion access in conservative states. Abortion rights groups got off to a slow start after the Supreme Court's decision, as we explained in a previous newsletter. The groups have struggled to agree on a nationwide strategy or to commit on an ambitious timetable. As a result, only a few of the 10 states appear likely to vote on abortion soon. Next up, the Sun Belt. Ohio is the only state that will vote on the issue this year. Here's a state-by-state breakdown for the 2024 and beyond. The effort in Florida, where DeSantis signed a 6-week abortion ban in April, is the furthest along. Organizers are on track to gather more than enough signatures to place the measure on the ballot next year. The measure would amend the state's constitution to legalize abortion until fetal viability, typically around 23 weeks of pregnancy, or much sooner, depending on where you're at. What an interesting standard, something that's movable. Or later, if the mother's health is in danger. There's no instances where that actually happens. Florida law requires all citizen-initiated constitutional amendments to receive 60% of the popular vote to pass, which is a good bar. In Arizona, abortion right groups released their proposed constitutional amendment yesterday, and it's similar to Florida's legal challenge and expensive drive to collect signatures are likely, but advocates are optimistic. Chris Love, an official with Planned Parenthood Advocates of Arizona, told the advocates conducted polls to determine which version of an initiative would have the best chance of passing. We wanted to see where our electorate was, she said. In Missouri, advocates have filed multiple versions of a potential constitutional amendment. Republican officials are analyzing those versions slowly, seemingly in an attempt to keep the issue off the ballot next year. In South Dakota, which has a near total abortion ban, a local group has proposed a measure that would prohibit any restrictions during the first trimester through about the 13 weeks of pregnancy, but local Planned Parenthood affiliates don't support the measure, believing it does not go far enough. Well, of course not. They would like to be able to abort babies all the way up until birth. Efforts have made relatively little progress in Arkansas, Nebraska, North Dakota, or Oklahoma. The same is true in Montana, although abortion remains legal there despite state officials' attempts to restrict it. The campaigns in Arizona and Florida are worth watching for reasons beyond abortion policy. Democrats hope that the excitement over the initiatives could lift President Biden's re-election chances in both states and play a role in Arizona's Senate race. For more, abortion is turning previously unremarkable elections into national events. Politico explains why anti-abortion measures isn't resonating with many voters. You mean like, yeah, I'm not even going to comment. Trump's indictment. In a previously secret memo, a lawyer allied with Trump plotted to overturn the 2020 election using false slates of electors. Prosecutors are using the memo to help show that Trump's team efforts evolved into a criminal conspiracy, except that's not illegal. And evidence keeps showing that the 2020 election was not legitimate. So good luck, Smith. You opened the door to that. Biden established a national monument around the Grand Canyon, protecting nearly 1 million acres of land. Ron DeSantis replaced his campaign manager, the latest shakeup of his struggling 2024 candidacy. Yeah, he's done. Vivek will overtake him soon enough. The Supreme Court reviewed the Biden administration's regulations on ghost guns, untraceable firearms that can be made from kits bought online, which is a horrible thing because that completely violates the Second Amendment. You have the right to be able to make a gun. Governor Tate Reeves of Mississippi, a Republican incumbent, will face Brandon Preslov, a Democratic state official and second cousin of Elvis Presley. That's not a qualification. China. The Biden administration is expected to restrict some American investments in China. Oh, so we're finally going to recognize they're our enemy, but not Biden's investments. He's still going to make his money. An economic slowdown in China has raised fears of deflation in the world's second biggest economy. The Black Sea has become a hotspot for fighting in the war in Ukraine. The leaders of 8 countries in the Amazon River Basin, led by Brazil, signed a pact to reduce deforestation. In business news, Zoom, a company that has become synonymous with remote work, is asking employees to return to the office. That's funny. A Taiwan-based semiconductor giant is building its first chip-making factory in Europe. Other big stories, the obesity drug Wegovy reduced the risk of serious heart problems by 20% in a large trial, the drug maker said. Or you could just not eat large quantities of food that's really bad for you. A shark bit a woman at Rockaway Beach, the first known shark attack in New York City since the 1950s. She is in stable condition. At least 3 people are expected to be charged after a group of white boaters in Alabama appeared to attack a black boat captain in an episode captured on video. A ticket in Florida won the 1.5. Wow, nice. Good for them. So the shark attack, I'm sure that's climate change. Hindu supremacy and anti-Muslim violence are pushing India to the brink. That's a really interesting Hindu supremacy. Are you going to try and lump them in with white supremacists now? Because Hindus are like really peaceful people. Here's a column on America's failure to improve indoor air quality. That's them trying to justify their gas stove ban, which is absurd because they covered a room in plastic and then cooked inside of it in a vacuum and said, oh, it's dirty and poisonous. Just absurd. Well, the rapper Tory Lanez was sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting Megan Thee Stallion during an argument in 2020. So what? They got into a fight and she shot her. That's interesting. Mourners gathered as Sinead O'Connor's coffin was carried past her last family home in Ireland. Fans of hockey's romance and actual literary subgenre are divided after an NFL player's wife said they had gone too far in objectifying her husband. That's... You gotta love the times. Look, a big pile of... What is that? A caramelized onion galette. Caramelized... That's... What? Why do... Just cook a steak and put butter on it. That's it. That's all you need. I'm out. Have a great day.